Today, when you sign a contract, hear a witness in court, or defend your property rights, you're actually unknowingly becoming part of a system that stretches back thousands of years. Nearly everything we associate with law in the modern world comes from concepts shaped in the streets, forums, and senate of the Roman Empire. It may be hard to believe, but from the credit card agreement in your pocket to the deed to your house, even to the procedures in divorce cases, so much comes from Rome's legacy. Today, more than 150 countries around the world use systems based on Roman law, and most aren't even aware of it. Roman law actually begins with a rather violent class struggle. In the 5th century BC, there were two groups in Rome: the patricians, meaning the nobles, and the plebeians, meaning the common people. The nobles knew the laws but told no one because the laws weren't written down. When you committed a crime, you didn't know what punishment you'd receive because the laws existed only in the nobles' heads. The people rebelled against this for years, even once abandoning their work and leaving the city. Because of this, Rome nearly collapsed. Finally, around 450 BC, the patricians stepped back, and the 12 tables were engraved on bronze tablets. They were hung in the center of the speaker's platform in the Forum Romanum for everyone to read. These tablets might seem ordinary today, but for that era they were incredible. Because the laws were no longer secret, everyone could see them. A peasant could see he was subject to the same laws as the patricians. This idea of transparency formed the foundation of modern democracies. From America's Constitution to France's Declaration of Human Rights, from Germany's Grundgesetz to South Africa's Constitution, all these documents actually carry the spirit of those bronze tablets in the Roman Forum. Today, no democratic country has secret laws. It all comes from Rome. Another area where Roman law revolutionized things was property. People always owned property, but Rome made it scientific. Who owns a piece of land? How is it transferred? What rights exist over it? Who can do what and can't do what? Everything was bound by detailed rules. Most of the concepts we use today when buying and selling real estate come from Rome. For example, do you have the right to pass through your neighbor's land? This was a concept in Rome called servitus. Whether you buy an apartment in Tokyo, rent a house in London, or purchase land in Sao Paulo, fundamentally the property principles Rome developed are at work. But Roman law wasn't just laws. The Romans developed two types of law. One was jus civile, exclusive to Roman citizens. The other was jus gentium, meaning universal law applicable to everyone. Why did they do this? Because as the empire grew, people from different nations came. These people weren't Roman citizens, so what would happen if disputes arose between them? Rome found the solution: a legal system based on universal principles. In the 1st century BC, even if merchants from different nations had a dispute in Rome, they could find a fair system. This concept lives today everywhere, from the International Court of Justice in The Hague to the World Trade Organization courts in Geneva. Another brilliant Roman invention was jurists. These people, called jurisconsults, gave opinions on complex matters. These opinions became so important over time that they became binding. This is how case law was born. Today, when a judge in British, American, or Australian courts makes a decision, they first examine past decisions. They look for precedent. This system began in Rome. Names like Ulpian, Papinian, Gaius were the legal stars of that era. The book Gaius wrote, The Institutes, was taught as a textbook for 1,000 years. The Roman Empire falls in 476 AD. Barbarians seize the city. Libraries burn. Buildings turn to ruins. Everyone thinks Rome is finished. But in the east, the Byzantine Empire is still standing, and Emperor Justinian gets a magnificent idea: to compile 1,000 years of Roman legal knowledge. Between 529 and 534 AD, an army of jurists led by Tribonian sifts through thousands of pages, organizing, eliminating contradictions. The result? The Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. This work was so systematic that even today, law professors are amazed. The work had 4 parts: the Codex, meaning laws, the Digesta, meaning legal opinions, the Institutiones, meaning textbook, and the Novellae, meaning new laws. It was forgotten for a while, but was rediscovered in the 11th century at the University of Bologna in Italy, and at that moment, world legal history changed. Because in medieval Europe, law was total chaos. Every feudal lord had his own rules, nothing was written, everyone acted according to custom and tradition. In Bologna, professors began reading Justinian's work. Students came from all over Europe. They learned Roman law, returned to their countries, spread what they knew. By the 13th century, from Spain to Scotland, from Germany to Poland, everyone was talking about Roman law. This wave didn't stay in Europe alone. Through colonization, it reached Latin America, Africa, even some parts of Asia. The Enlightenment came in the 18th century, and everyone wanted legal reform. Frederick the Great in Prussia, Maria Theresa in Austria, all began making their own civil codes, and all based them on Rome. In 1804, France published the Code Civil. Property, contracts, family law, inheritance, everything was systematically arranged. It was so successful that Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, and Spain directly copied it. In Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Mexico all adopted this system. In 1896, Germany made its own BGB, again Rome-based but more modern. Switzerland made its own code in 1907. Japan is an interesting example. When westernizing during the Meiji period, they modeled themselves on the German civil code, so indirectly they adopted Roman law. Today, there are traces of Rome even in the legal systems of China, South Korea, and Taiwan. What does this have to do with daily life? Actually, everything. When you buy coffee in the morning, you're making a contract. Roman law determined the basic elements of a contract: offer, acceptance, meeting of minds. The I agree button you click when shopping online is the Roman concept of consensus. When you move into a house, you sign a lease. In Rome, it was called locatio conductio. In Paris, New York, Dubai, Sydney, everywhere, the same basic principles apply. Court procedures also come entirely from Rome. The presumption of innocence. The accused is innocent until proven guilty. This comes from Rome's principle that the burden of proof lies with the claimant. When Miranda rights are read in America, when it says, "You have the right to remain silent," this is from Rome's principle that no one can be forced to incriminate themselves. Hearing witnesses, presenting evidence, the right to defense, all were systematized in Rome. The good faith principle used in commercial contracts, bona fides, is a direct Latin Roman term. In a corporate merger in London, in a stock purchase in Singapore, parties must act honestly. Consumer protection laws also come from Rome. A seller in the marketplace had to disclose hidden defects in his goods, or the buyer could return them. Today, your right to return an electronic device, your warranty, all are continuations of this principle. Criminal law was also influenced by Rome. The distinction between intentional murder and manslaughter began in Rome with the concepts of dolus, meaning intent, and culpa, meaning negligence. The high standards of proof in courts are continuations of Rome's meticulous sense of justice. Corporate law is an interesting example. The concept of the corporation developed from the Roman concepts of societas and universitas. In Rome, merchants could form partnerships, and these partnerships had their own legal personality. Today, Google, Toyota, Samsung, BP, every global company fundamentally operates on principles Rome developed. The principle of limited liability. If a company fails, you only lose the money you invested. This existed in Rome. Family law is also Roman in origin. Marriage contracts, divorce, custody rights, alimony, all of these were regulated in Rome. The property regime in many countries, the sharing of assets acquired during marriage, comes from Rome. In inheritance law, the word testament comes from the Latin testamentum. When you write a will, you're speaking Rome's language. Legal education also continues the Roman tradition. Harvard, Oxford, Sorbonne, Cambridge, University of Tokyo, all have Roman law courses. Why? Because to understand modern law, you need to understand Rome. The influence of Rome in international law is even clearer. The United Nations Charter, the Geneva Conventions, the European Court of Human Rights, all fundamentally operate on Roman principles. The principle of pacta sunt servanda, meaning agreements are binding, comes from Rome and is today the foundation of every international treaty. From climate agreements to trade agreements, from disarmament to refugee rights, everything is within the system Rome established. The European Union's legal system is largely Rome-based. When the European Court of Justice makes decisions, since most member states use civil codes, they can find a common language. Even after Brexit, Britain continues to use EU norms in some areas, so indirectly, Roman law. The situation in Latin America is more interesting. Brazil received Roman law through Portugal, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, through Spain. Today, when you enter the Palace of Justice in Buenos Aires, when you look at the courts in Lima, even the architecture resembles Roman temples. This isn't just aesthetic, it's the visual expression of legal tradition. Rome is in Africa too. South Africa uses a mixed system, Roman Dutch law combined with English common law. When the Dutch colonized, they brought their own system, which was also derived from Rome. The influence of Roman law isn't just historical information, it's a reality living in every moment of our daily lives. When you buy an apartment, sign an employment contract, defend your rights in court, even when you accept terms of service on social media, you're using Rome's thousand-year legacy. The empire collapsed long ago, the Caesars are gone, the legions disbanded, but the laws remained. And they were so well designed, based on such universal principles, that they still work thousands of years later. Perhaps Rome's greatest conquest was made not with weapons, but with ideas. Today around the world, in different languages and different cultures, people speak the same legal language, and that language's origin goes back to the bronze tablets in the Roman Forum. Until the next video, goodbye.
Il est rentré là! Il est fixe, attaque!